nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to Films of Classic, brought to you by ELS Everett Lee Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Films of Classic, brought to you by ELS, the Everett Lee Show. See on the screen right there, today we're going to be talking about Blade Runner for you audio listeners.
Yes, the Blade Runner movie. A movie that has several versions of it, I should say.
Yeah.
I think it's probably about 6 or 7 different versions of this movie. I watched the final director's cut edition, which was one of the only versions that Ridley Scott was able to have full control over when doing this version of the movie. So there's a lot of extra stuff in there that he approved to be in that the other previous versions they would not allow. Honestly, in my opinion, I'm not a huge Blade Runner fan. I remember watching this movie a long time ago.
Right.
And I couldn't remember what my reaction was to it. But after watching it again, I kind of remember why it's been so long I haven't seen this movie.
Well, this podcast is for you Patreon members. Thank you for becoming a Patreon member and supporting ELS and supporting Films of Classic.
And if you have any Patron, shoot them up.
I think I got some apple reds in the fridge.
Shots.
Of course, like we talked about, Blade Runner, we're going to have 2 different points of views about this movie. Blade Runner, it was directed by Ridley Scott, who is known for Alien, the first Alien, and Black Hawk Down and Prometheus. It was written by Hampton Fancher. David Pebbles wrote the Pablos, if that's how you say it on there. He wrote the screenplay, and it was based on a novel by Phil K. Dick. And of course, the cast...
He was a dick.
Of course, the cast in this movie, we got Harrison Ford as Rick Deckard.
Which this is one of his, lesser-known films.
Yeah. And then you got Rutger Hauer-Roy,
Batty.
He played Roy Batty.
Yep.
Actually, if I'm saying that right, how do you pronounce his name?
I don't know.
I know.
We're just calling him Rutger.
Huh?
We're just calling him
Rutger.
Yeah.
And then you got Sean Young, and you got Edward James Olmos, and then you got
He was almost good in this movie. Oh, look at that.
You got Emmett Walsh, who played Bryant, and Edward James Olmos played Gaff, and then Sean Young played Rachel, if that's how you say it. There's different, ways
This
to
movie
spell
was
it.
budgeted at $28 million.
Yep.
When it first came out.
And it grossed
$27 million.
$27 million. And, of course, Harrison Ford's the lead role. Of course, at this time, Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. He's already did Star Wars. He already did Raiders of the Lost Ark. So now it's like, okay, this is, like you said, one of his lesser roles. And then, of course, you had the villain, which was Rutger Hauer, who played Roy Batty. He was known for The Hitcher, and he played the villain in the 1992 Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, directed by Joss Whedon, who went on to direct The Avengers. And Sean Young, of course, her famous role as Finkel Einhorn.
Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn.
From Ace Ventura. And I don't know if you remember this from the mid-90s. It was a comedy called Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. She was.
I think I remember
too.
that.
Yeah, she was Hyde.
Okay.
Yeah, this version of Dr. Jekyll was when he would he was trying to transform or whatever it was. He transformed into a woman.
Yeah.
And of course, you had Edward James Olmos, who played Gaff, who did roles on TV shows such as Hill Street Blues and Miami Vice. And of course, you had Emmett Walsh, who played Byron, who was in 1995's My Best Friend's Wedding, and he was also in 1998's Wild Wild West. And of course, you got Daryl Hannah, who plays Pris, which she was known for Splash,
Kill Bill.
Wall Street,
Yep,
and Grumpy Old Men, and of course, Kill
Bill
recently. And she still, so she, she can have it. And like you said, $28 million it cost this movie, and they grossed in about 27. So they.
What I did like about this movie, though, was that for the time, it was filmed in the late '80s, so you didn't have all the fancy CGI and stuff that you had through there,
right?
But it basically, because the film takes place in a futuristic year of 2019, only 2 years beyond today, which how it was back in the day. They thought by the year 2000 we'd be on Mars. So it was like a futuristic, like the type of clothes they wore. It was almost like a cyberpunk style.
Yeah.
If you remember Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall.
Yes.
Okay. Kind of like that a little bit, or lesser like The Fifth Element, more like Total Recall.
Right.
It was like a futuristic clothing, but kind of punkish, but kind of like, cyber, like computer styled. So I think that was pretty neat. So basically, the movie, it's in Los Angeles, and the year's 2019, and this Los Angeles is a very depressing. It's very dark. Crime-ridden Los Angeles. It's very dirty.
Yes.
Harrison Ford, who plays Deckard, he's a retired cop, and he's what they call a Blade Runner. Oh, title of the movie. Woo, Blade Runner. They said the movie title in the movie. A Blade Runner is essentially people that are assigned to assassinate what they call replicants, or as we would like to think of them, like androids. They're like human-looking robots. They have human emotions. They talk, look just like us, but they're robots. So basically what happens is there's 4 replicants. They commit basically a mutiny on an off-world colony.
Yeah,
they killed like 26 people.
They leave. They get out of there. Yeah, they do a mutiny and they leave, and then they get off the planet and come back to Earth.
And then Deckard is pretty much brought into the police department.
Right.
And they tell him, okay, well, you know what? He goes, we know you're retired, but we need you to track down these androids anyway. And the thing about these androids is that the way they designed them, they only have 4 years of a lifespan, and that's it.
Yeah, so they said that was like a fail-safe feature, just in case anything happens.
4 years and they're gone.
Yeah, 4 years, they're dead.
Now, what's cool about these androids, though, is that they can be shot and killed just like humans.
Yeah.
They got blood in them, everything like that. They can be shot and killed.
Yeah, they're not like it ain't like before, or actually, which you see later on, because in '84 Terminator, the cyborg.
They're a little more like tougher to shoot at in Terminator.
Yeah.
Versus these. These pretty much, you can, just like us, you can shoot them, kill them, and they're gone.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead.
Which shows you about how well they can build stuff in 2019.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, as before, Batty, he's the leader of all these 4, and there's a reason why we find out, later in the movie, why he decided to come back to Earth. And one thing I have to say is, like, at the beginning of this movie, when the when the credits are rolling, it kind of explains a little bit what's going on and everything. That first shot that you got of Los Angeles, 2019 Los Angeles and stuff, you're like, wow. You know what I mean? What do you think about that opening shot when they show like the city of Los Angeles in 2019 at the time Think about it like this.
I thought it was a cool shot. It really kind of just gave you a quick, just like shock to the face of like, this is, what things have become. Mm-hmm. Now, it makes you wonder if other parts of the U.S. are like this as well. But it just makes you assume that like most major cities are pretty much been industrialized. They're dirty. It's not a good place to be.
Yeah, it's just, that's what the if you place yourself of like in 1982, and this is basically depicting on what the future is going to look like, you're like, really? You know? Okay. It was impressive with the shots of the city, and you got flying cars and stuff like that, which is pretty neat and stuff, though. But then they showed like this big building, it's like a pyramid, which is the Tyrell Corporation. And of course, you see one of the guys come in, one of the workers, and he's getting asked these questions. And they got this machine where they're looking at his eyes to see if his shining eyes would happen and stuff. That basically, come to find out, he kills the guy interviewing him because he's actually a replica. And one of the replicas that escaped. According to Ridley Scott and Jordan Cornwell, to achieve the famous shining eyes effects by using a technique invented by Fritz Lang known as the Skoften process, light is bounced into the actor's eyes off a piece of half mirror glass mounted about a 45-degree angle to the camera. That's how they got that look. If you notice in their eyes and stuff, you can tell when the pupils dilate. You could tell if they're replicas or not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, of course, that's basically the murder there of an employee at the Tyrell Corporation. Of course, Bryant calls in Deckard, the ex-Blade Runner, and he's like, I'm retired. And lets him know about, what the hell's going on.
See, what kind of gets me about this movie, and this is one of the things, is, I like Ridley Scott movies. I just thought there was just too much dialogue and too less of action for this movie. Because you think about it, if the movie is about a guy hunting down robots that look like humans that have killed people, and obviously they're trying to continue that, you would think there'd be a lot more action and fight scenes, in this movie. But it seemed like there was more dialogue, and they pretty much rushed the fight scenes, really quick.
Yeah.
That's my biggest just drawback of this movie.
Yeah, it's what's different about this, it's different from any other sci-fi movie with, it shows outer space. They mention space and stuff, but you don't really see it. No. You just see it like the gritty Los Angeles, a cop trying to track down the replicas.
It takes about 30, little over half an hour,
right,
for him to at least find the first robot. Or I'll just say robot's easier.
Or just replicas.
Yeah, replica. And it kind of builds up a little bit, like a little story on Deckard about how he has this dream about this unicorn and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he winds up meeting this other replica, what's her name, Rachel,
who's different from any other replicas.
Right. And he finally tracks down the first robot, or replica, I'll say replica.
Priest. It's Daryl Hannah.
Yeah.
And when she's escaping, you notice how she runs into the side of into the car. Well, when that happens, after she first meets Sebastian, she runs away, from him and and she's skidding into the car and smashes the window with her elbow.
Yeah.
That was a actual mistake caused by Hannah slipping on the wet ground. And the glass wasn't actually a breakaway glass.
Wow.
Yeah, it was real glass. And Hannah chipped her elbow in 8 places. She still has, the scar to this day from the accident.
Oh, wow.
And it could be seen in the documentary called Dangerous Days, Making a Blade Runner, that came out in 2007. And the full-length feature film of the documentary.
So what kind of gets me is I mean, it wasn't too bad of a first scene. I mean, he's chasing after this girl through the street, trying to find her.
Yeah.
She winds up running away. He's kind of like pushing through a crowd of people.
It was neat. It was neat how he tracked her down and stuff, looking at the pictures, and he was looking in and zooming in on a picture of a reflection of the real person, and then we tracked down the replica. Yeah, you noticed when he was asking the questions, she freaks out, and she chokes him and beats him down, and she's running through and stuff.
He takes 3 shots at her. Takes her out. He kills her. Nothing, nothing too fancy. And then he notices when the cops show up and they're, he's showing them who he is, that there's another strange person staring at him from across the street. Yes. Which would be the second replicant, the one you saw from the beginning of the movie who ended up killing the guy who was interviewing him. Yes. And then I think it was legit, like maybe 10 minutes later, he walks back over across the street and there he is, a quick little scuffle, and then boom, this guy's gone. He's dead. Very quick.
Well, what's her name?
Rachel.
Rachel shoots him in the back of the head, kills him.
So, I mean, there you go. Boom. I mean, 2 quick kills right there. And then he winds up taking Rachel back to his place. They interact for a while.
And they're having a conversation, and one of the dialogues is, "May I ask you a personal question?" She asks him, and he's like, "Sure." And she asks him, "Have you ever retired a human by mistake?" And he said, "No." And then she's like, "But in your position, that is a risk."
Yeah.
Like the dialogue.
Yeah, if you're not 100% sure and you take someone out, it could be a human, not a robot.
Yeah. Yeah, like like the conversation between when Tyrell was asking, is like, go ahead, ask her the questions, to find out if she's really a replica. Yeah. Because he wanted to see if what his thing, and he's going back and forth asking questions, and it's funny because she's like, is like, what was one of the lines I'm trying to think of, because it was so funny, because she was like, are you asking me a personal questions, or are you asking if I'm a lesbian or not?
And then we cut back to our main 2 robots here. Yeah. Roy and
Piss. There were only 2 left now. Now,
we had the other girl too. There's 3 left.
No. The girl that he was chasing, she died. Yeah. And then the guy at the beginning of the movie, the replica there, he died. Right. So it only leaves those 2 left, Batty and Priss. They're the only 2 replicas left.
I think so.
And the thing I want to mention,
they're trying to talk to the guy that made them.
Yeah, Tyrell. That's what it comes down to find out.
They wanted to extend their life. They found out they only had 4 years, or they knew they had 4 years of lifespan. Mm-hmm. And they basically go after him to tell him, say, well, I want you to come in here and fix this. I want to live longer than 4 years. And Tyrell pretty much is like, no, I'm not going to.
No, you can't.
So, which leads to a pretty cool killing scene.
Yeah. God. And the music playing. One thing I got to say about this is the soundtrack to this movie is... It's pretty neat.
Good 80s like synth stuff and everything.
I do like it. It gives that feel to it.
A futuristic feel.
Yeah, when he kills him,
Roy sticks his thumbs in the guy in his eye, in Tyrell's eye, and basically squeezes till it basically kills him.
Yeah, he crushes his head, man.
I mean, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And then of course, Deckard tracks him down and tracks her down, and One thing I have to say is when Ridley Scott cast Rutger Hauer in the role of Roy Batty, he cast him without actually meeting the actor, because he watched his performance in Turkish Delight and Katie Tippel and Soldier of Orange. he was impressed. He cast him immediately. However, when their first meeting, Hauer decided to play a joke on Scott and he turned up wearing a huge green sunglasses, pink satin pants, and white sweaters with an image of a fox on the front. But according to the production executive, Catherine Haber, when Scott saw Hauer, he literally turned white. He played a joke on him. And he cast him automatically without he didn't even have to audition. You know what I mean? But he played a hell of a bad guy, did he not?
Yeah, he did. And, of course, it leads him to another bad guy role, which is, pretty much suits his character.
Yeah.
He's good bad guys.
He is.
People do.
He is. Daryl Hannah, when Deckard tracks down where they're at.
They're hiding in this giant, apartment building, abandoned apartment building. Got these creepy, lights and stuff that, flash, through the windows and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think it was, Pris has this, white-haired wig on, black eye, spray-painted. And, see, this is the other thing, too, is that now you've got two left. You think they'd have two really good scenes. No, he walks in, Pris is acting like a doll on a table.
A mannequin.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of mannequins and robots and stuff, kind of laughing and everything. Wounds up shoving him across the room. Does a cartwheel, tries to squeeze his head between his legs.
Yeah.
Deckard ends up getting out of it, and then Pris starts basically front flipping again toward him, and he reaches out and just shoots him in the chest. So Pris is on the ground, kind of convulsing and stuff. Yeah. He walks over and just shoots Pris again, and then boom, that's it.
That's it.
I mean, that's it for the fight scene. I mean, that was it. All this build up, and it's that's it. Boom. So far we've had 2 quick killings and 1 little scuffle that really didn't do much. So, I mean, I think that was a huge letdown right there.
Yeah. I mean,
and then, it comes down to the final scene where
it's Batty and Deckard.
Yeah, and I thought, and this was the longest and probably best fight scene in the whole movie. When they start scuffling around.
Well, the thing about that final scene, it was shot literally hours before the producers were due to take creative control away from Ridley Scott. That's what happened. You know what I mean? It's Ridley Scott had the idea of this film and everything, and then that's why that final scene with them fighting, that was out of his hands because the producers took it.
And it was the best killing scene in the whole entire film. Mm-hmm. There was one part where Deckard was walking around with a gun looking for him, and Roy had kind of came around the corner and dodged through the hallway, and he basically sticks his hand through the wall. He's a replicant. He's a robot. He sticks his hand through the wall, grabs his hand and pulls it through the hole, and basically pulls the gun out of his hand. And of course, Reddick or Harrison Ford, he can't move because he got this robot with his hand, grabbing his hand through the wall, and he grabs 2 of his fingers and basically breaks 2 of his fingers right there, which was pretty cool. I like that. Then he gave him the gun back in his hand and basically, let his hand loose. So now here he is with his gun, but he can't shoot it because, his hand's broken. Yeah. So he tries with the other hand, and of course he misses. The guy ducks and dodges. Yeah. So then they start basically scuffling around through the floor. Now, mind you, that Roy is basically running around in a pair of boots and a pair of short spandex shorts. I mean,
something like it. Yeah, I know.
It kind of reminded me of, if you remember back in WCW when they had Raven's Flock, you had Lodi. Remember, he used to come out with the white hair, the little leather short shorts and boots, and that was it. I mean, that's basically what it reminded me of. And so Deckard ends up climbing outside the building. You're on the outside ledge. It's raining, of course. It's futuristic Los Angeles. It always rains. It's dark. It's gloomy. And they get up to the rooftop. Deckard goes to jump, and he barely makes it to the rooftop jump. And he's hanging on. And Rory comes up to him, and he actually grabs Deckard's hand before he falls and lifts him up onto the rooftop.
Yeah.
So the villain saving, our hero in this movie, which is kind of weird,
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
And then they had he had a big dialogue scene there. So here we got more dialogue.
There's a lot of dialogue in this movie. Like you said, it's different.
He pretty much
from any other like sci-fi movie at that time. You know what I mean?
Roy was pretty much giving a speech about, basically what's human and what's not. I mean, he's basically giving a speech about, why the replicants are treated the way they are, and they deserve better. And then just when he finishes, guess what? 4 years had gone by.
And
he dies right there.
Yeah.
Nothing big, nothing extravagant. He literally his head tilts down, he closes his eyes, he's done.
Yeah.
So you even get like a big killing scene on that one.
I know.
Huge letdown. Huge letdown. After that whole entire scene, the fight scene, huge letdown.
Yeah,
and then we cut back and we got Deckard going back to his house here, and he meets up with Rachel. She's there at his place. And as they go to leave, he notices a origami swan.
Yeah, from Gaff.
So it kind of hints at the end that Deckard himself may actually be a replicant and not a human. So essentially, it's a replicant chasing after and killing other replicants. Yeah. Which later on, many years later, Ridley Scott did confirm that he was a replicant, which is ironic. Which kind of makes me wonder with the new Blade Runner coming out, if they're still going to touch on that, or if they're actually going to say it in this new movie that he was or is one.
Right. Well, since you brought that up here, I'll pull it up here on my notes that the Ridley Scott regards to Blade Runner.
The first cut ran for 4 hours.
Yeah, the first. Where's that at? On my notes, I just saw it. Right. Okay, yeah, the first cut ran for 4 hours.
4 hours of fucking dialogue. No, thank you.
Most of the crew, including the writers and directors, admitted that while it looked beautiful, it was mostly incomprehensible. Necessitating adding additional editing and
explanatory voiceovers. God,
you had some voiceovers, but 4 hours. This movie, it was just so the budget it took $28 million, but it made back that money and stuff. The ending titles and the sequence in the theatrical cut of the film contains unused footage. Check this out.
Yep.
Of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. These were extra shots of the main title sequence, although none of the shots contain the road that was seen in The Shining. Trying to make a movie based off of a book, that usually works or it don't work. And for instance, for Philip K's Dick, first came up the idea of the novel. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep in 1962. He was researching The Man in the High Castle, which details the Nazis conquering the planet in the 1940s. Dick had been granted access to archive World War II Gestapo documents in the University of California at Berkeley. He had come across diaries written by SS men stationed in Poland, which he found almost unreadable in their casual cruelty and the lack of human empathy. One sentence in particular troubled him. We are kept awake at night by the cries of starving children. Dick was so horrified by the sentence that he reasoned there was obviously something wrong with the man who wrote it. This led him to hypothesize. I can never say that word. That Nazis in general was a defective group mind, and the mind so emotionally flawed that the word human could not be applied to them. Their lack of empathy was so pronounced that Dick reasoned they couldn't be referred to as human beings, even though their outward appearance seemed to indicate that they were human. The novel sprang from this. This is where you get the idea for the novel of Blade Runner and the replicas.
Ironically, too, apparently that some of these futuristic vehicles they had, which they kind of remind me like the Fifth Element vehicles a little bit.
Yeah.
They actually, some of the computer displays were used in 1979's Alien. There's also some like sounds that they used too, some like computer sounds and everything too from that movie that they used in this as well.
Really?
That's pretty cool. Kind of reuse your props from one movie into another one. I mean, save some money there.
Yeah, you can. You definitely can.
Yeah.
You definitely can if people don't pick up on it,
Right.
But sometimes, I mean, nowadays people be like, oh yeah, who have that eye to look for that. Apparently, I guess there was some with the Ridley Scott getting fired from this movie.
Yeah.
And everything going on. I guess there was I guess some stuff went down between Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott. Although many years, Harrison Ford refused to talk about Blade Runner. But he did contribute to the 2007 documentary Dangerous Days, The Making of Blade Runner, as I mentioned earlier, claiming that he reconciled with Ridley Scott and made peace.
He reconciled?
Yeah, I suck. You know what I'm talking about because you know me for so long. But he made peace, and he made peace with the film. In fact, Ford says that the thing he remembers most of is not the grueling shoot or the arguments with the director, but being forced to record the voiceover, which the executive producer Jerry Perchincho and Bud Yorkin insisted be in the film. Ford doesn't actually mention any names, but in discussing the voiceover, which was used in the theatrical cut, he says it was written by, quote, clowns.
Yep.
In actual fact, Daryl Prosaci was initially hired to write it, but his version was tossed out. Then Roland Kabee was hired, and his version is the one they use. According to David Peblis and Hamilton Fancher, who wrote the movie, who had become close friends when they first saw the film, they each thought the other had written it, and despite the fact they both hated it, they told one another they loved it for the fear of insulting the other's feelings.
See, I like the idea of the movie. I like the concept of the movie. Just don't like the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if they got rid of a lot of kind of shortened up the dialogue and added some more action and stuff to it, it would have been a lot better of a movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
mean, have some. I mean, okay, I could see the first, replicant, dying pretty quick, something like that. But I mean, to throw in the second one as quick as they did, take him out as quick as they did, have a long, drawn out span of more dialogue, and then quickly take out the last two. I mean, I think that was the biggest default in this movie was there was, the concept of the movie, the whole story of it was excellent. It could have been a whole opposite of a movie, but instead it didn't meet its expectations.
It did. I mean, it was, like.
I mean, here's my thing, okay? So, you got the Terminator, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll just use as an example. Robot comes back to the past to kill, some lady to keep her son from becoming a rebel to stop his computer mainframe thing.
Yeah.
Okay? So what do you expect? You expect a computer robot looks like a human to go back into the past and try to kill her. And that's what we got. We got a robot that came back. I mean, there was dialogue in there, but we got a robot that came back. He shot up a bunch of people, came after her. Huge action sequence. You kind of break it up a little bit. They're stuck in the police station. Guess what? The sumbitch runs a car through the front of the police station and shoots up an entire, station or, police station full of cops. More action. They escape, get to a hotel. Okay, a little bit of dialogue, I mean, it kind of slows down a little bit. And then guess what? He tracks him down. He's back again. Huge scene with the semi-truck blowing up. You think it's over? Oh my God, he's back again. Running through the factory, trying to run. I mean, you know what I'm saying now? That's what it was about. That's what you expected. That's what you got.
Yeah, I mean, so while I was watching this movie, there was times where I was like, it's just dragging. You know, it's like I
Yes.
was waiting for something
Yes.
exciting to happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
People consider this, you know, to be one of the greatest sci-fi's movies. I gotta say, visually, even still, when they came out with the '97 final cut, how they touched up the film,
That's what I saw.
it visually it looks neat because you have that futuristic.
Well, yeah, I mean,
setting.
there's
when you
there's
think of
good.
sci-fi, you think of space futuristic.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
The Fifth Element. I mean, same thing, but it all took
Yeah.
place. But I mean, visually, the movie was good. The special effects were good. I mean, the outfits were good. The costumes, the setting, everything. It's just they literally took this movie and beat it to death with a lot of unnecessary dialogue, and the action of the movie suffered from it so greatly that overall, I mean, I think the movie was a failure. I think it was. I think it was a failure. It's just like, what was that Disney brought out, or there's that movie we had. It's probably about 7-8 years ago, I think it was. There's that movie. Disney made it, but they never advertised it as a Disney movie.
Right.
And it was about some guy who traveled in some futuristic thing back to this Egypt looking place or whatever it was.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And
I forget the name of
it cost the movie cost them $130 million to make, and it did five.
Yes.
It did like 5 million out of 130. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So they lost $125 million in this movie, and it caused a couple of top Disney guys from their film department to literally quit. I don't think I'm pretty sure they were either you quit or we're going to fire you for this disaster. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think the funny part was that they never advertised it as a Disney movie at all.
Yeah.
And the commercials, everything, the trailers, you never saw Disney's name on it whatsoever. I think if they would have promoted it with Disney, it would have been go down a little bit more. But they over budgeted. I mean, the movie graded a lot. Spent I think it's $130 million. It did 5 or something like that. And I think this was another.
I think it was
John Carter. Yeah.
That's
what it was. John Carter.
Yes.
Yeah. And even right now, there's Disney finally at the very top, way up there, tiny little thing. But
IMDb gives it a rating of a 6.6.
Yeah, let's see how much money this thing lost. Go down to the how much did this thing lose? This thing probably lost yeah, there it is. So it cost them $250 million estimated, and it did 73.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think
with Blade Runner here, they made the money back.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is that this is the perfect example, in my opinion, of a movie that had all the great things to be an awesome movie, but when it came down to the actual movie itself, it didn't meet its expectations.
It did. Well, you know what? If you look at the time, when was Blade Runner released?
It was
released
80,
in 82.
89, I think?
No, not 89.
The 80? Something in the 80s.
It was released in 82.
82.
And look at the popularity from IMDb right there.
Not very good.
Not very good. Yeah, it was June 25th of 1982. All right, let's do by the numbers. We did this last time with Maximum Overdrive, didn't we?
Here's my thing. Okay, Aliens, perfect Ridley Scott movie, Aliens. Okay, that lived up to its expectations. Yeah, there was a lot of dialogue, but the action lived up to its expectations.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Yeah, it's ranked domestically, internationally. Yeah, it did 20. Budget was $28 million, and it didn't. They made only 27.
Yeah.
million off the thing. But
That's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah.
like details. That's
Did
all.
horrible internationally.
Internationally, yeah, it just
Horrible.
No
483,000. They didn't break a million.
no one liked it.
Nope.
No one actually liked this.
What was our rating system we're going to give these movies? You remember that from last time?
Three super kicks.
Oh, that's right. Super
Yeah,
kicks.
we
Super
got-
kicks or what else?
If it's no good, we give it shotgun blast.
That's right.
Okay. Well, let me look up these numbers here. I'm interested here. Okay, June 25th, right? 1982.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. June 25th, 1982.
Let's see what came out that same entire year. Nothing.
Actually, let me just do this right there.
Okay, let's see what we had come out that year. We had Annie.
Annie.
come out 5/21/82.
Yeah.
God, Alone in the Dark. Nothing really good that came out that year. Look at that.
No, nothing.
Nothing. That was a horrible year for movies.
It was.
That was a horrible year for movies. There's nothing noteworthy that came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, here we go. Watch this. Let's see. Yeah, summer. Yeah, that was in the summer too. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Summer.
Well, you think all the good movies that come out?
Yeah.
Summer movies,
Movies.
1982.
Yeah, 1982.
Speaking of which, I just want to pull this out of my ass here a little bit. So apparently, for all you people here local in Florida, Volusia County,
1982, best year for summer movies ever.
Yeah, right. I just want to make note that we're going to have a drive-in movie theater being built here around the area here soon too.
Look at that. 1982, Conan the Barbarian.
Okay, Conan. There you go.
Yeah, E.T.
Okay, no, go back to that. Conan the Barbarian. What's the movie about? A barbarian avenging his parents' death.
E.T.
Okay, what'd you get? A barbarian slaughtering people, avenging his people's death.
Fast Time at Richmond High.
There we go.
An officer and a gentleman.
That's a
Pink
good one.
Floyd, The Wall.
I love that movie.
Poltergeist.
Yes.
The Road Warrior.
Yep.
Rocky 3.
Okay.
Star Trek 2. The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, I don't
The
care for
Thing.
Yeah,
Tron.
Tron, one of my favorite movies from Disney.
Yes.
Tron. I'm hoping they make a third one. I really hope.
I do
You know,
too.
in Disney Japan, they actually have a Tron ride, like a movie ride,
Really?
where you get on the light cycles and it roller coaster. It's like a roller coaster and it takes you through.
Now, real quick, let's throw in a little bit more, a little bit trivia about this film before we wrap it up here. Like, what's one thing that people wouldn't know about this film? What?
There's really not much more trivia about the movie. It's just it was so like
Ridley Scott.
The hype was so much better than the actual movie.
But IMDb rates this movie an 8.2. Now,
But who's rating that though? I mean,
user reviews.
Yeah, see, it could be one
And
group of
here's
people reviewing that.
An incredible, beautiful looking film as one of the world
What?
would expect with
Can you
director Ridley Scott.
Give me a 2-star review on this and let's see what they say. Because I want to know the good and the bad.
1,220 users basically say compelling, theatrical, deep sci-fi film. A glorious timeline nightmare. Ooh, here you go.
A nightmare.
Dark and deep, uncertain, unsettling. Imagine the most beautiful nightmare you ever had. This is Blade Runner.
No. Give me a.
Now this user says it's crafted, brilliantly crafted sci-fi fiction is not only touches upon, but barely plunges into the deep psychological question, making it simply 10 times more important than any film in its genre. I love it, not only for the initial feeling it gives, but it's because,
Go
Rotten Tomatoes.
no say give me a on the same IMDb. Give me a low star rating. Let's see what they say.
All right.
See if I find a low star rating.
Going through. I mean,
That's where you can like
oh,
filter.
here we go.
Can you
Best.
there we go.
Hated it.
Hated it. Okay, let's see here. Let's just see from the real people.
The last 10 minutes don't make up for this first
2 hours. There you go. See?
All right.
See? There you go.
This viewer who viewed the movie said, "Let me get something straight here. If you don't like this movie, you don't understand it."
Yep. Why? Because you just don't. You're not allowed to dislike this movie. Why? Because it's one of those movies that has gathered a huge fan base. The fan base is so large that anyone who dislikes the film will be instantly discredited as a tasteless Michael Bay devouring idiot. See? That's stupid.
Yeah. Overrated try.
Yep.
For the life of me, I cannot think of any reason why this movie is held with such high regards to the sci-fi community, except for having the holy trinity of geekdom. What a waste of time. 2 hours long of my life wasted. I watched director's cut, and boy, it's boring.
It says, a boring movie that no one should bother with. If you want Ford, robots, or movies set in the future, there are better far things out there than this one.
Without worst sci-fi movie, like a replica's Cheers in the Rain. I just saw it and had to make sure the score was right.
Here you go. Here you go. Right here, okay? I cannot explain how overrated this movie is. The movie does not explain anything about what is happening. The entire first quarter of the movie is Harrison Ford walking around extremely confused. Very little action in this movie, and the false opinion that the movie reveals something about human nature or the human mind is plain wrong.
Honestly,
halfway through the movie, Harrison Ford drops everything and he's doing to practically rape one of the robots.
Honestly, okay, this movie here, all right, visually, I've said this before. I think I've said it like 100 times already. Visually, this looks good. Visually, okay. Last time I say it, visually, yes. Okay, the score to the movie sounds good. A lot of dialogue, not a lot of action, okay? You could tell it was like Harrison Ford was doing it, but it was like, it didn't feel comfortable to him. All right? The thing about this, yeah, there was a little bit of action in it, and then that was it. The action comes and it runs.
Right.
It blades in and it runs off.
It runs.
That's it. Okay. Now, doing a movie like this, okay, of course we saw the careers of what Harrison Ford, Daryl Hannah, and Rutger Hauer, what happens with them, okay? We see that. They went on to do successful films. They don't, this right here, I guess in a way I get the movie, but in a way I didn't. What I think Ridley Scott tried to do with the book was he basically tried to turn it into a crime story set in the future. You know what I mean? But
instead he got this.
Yeah, and I think he went a little bit overboard, okay? He went overboard making this movie because he was fired. He got fired, and the executive producers took over, and the last part of the movie, a lot of people say, yeah, that's the best part of the movie. There you go, because you can tell that. All in all, I give this movie, because since Harrison Ford was attached to it at the time, oh, man, it's like, part of me wants to like this, but another part's like,
go with the other part. It's what you really think about it. Out of 5 super kicks or a shotgun blast,
I give this movie one super kick.
I give this movie a shotgun blast.
All right. there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Blade Runner.
Now, I'm not saying don't watch this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you've never seen it before, watch it,
Watch
and then let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, form your own opinion, okay? Right there at the bottom of the screen there, you see on Twitter, send me a tweet, man, at the Everett Lore Score Lee, or hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/the Everett Lee, or send me an email at everettshangout@gmail.com, or head over to the official website, Everett Lee Show, everettleeshow.weebly.com, or hit me up on Patreon. This is for your Patreon members, patreon.com/ELS_DT. Film's a classic, okay? All I gotta say is, yes, this movie, Blade Runner, was a classic, okay? It's one of those classic movies that you love it or hate it, okay?
It seems most people love it because they're afraid to hate it.
Yes. But you know what? This is what this podcast is, to cover movies like this.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. And I'm sure a lot of people, younger people too, have never heard of or seen Blade Runner.
Right. It's one of those hidden movies, and we understand why.
Yep.
In a good way or a bad way.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, McShaft, that is it for this review of Films of Classic.
Yep. We got some good surprises ahead of everyone here with some movies.
We do.
Down the line. And, once again, for all you Patreon members that follow the show, chime in and, let us know what you think about the movie. Let us know, not only what you thought, but, what could have made the movie better, and, there is another Blade Runner movie coming out. So what are your expectations for that movie as well?
Yeah, I want to hear that, man. Like I mentioned, hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, send me an email at everettshangout@gmail.com.
Tell your friends to join up on Patreon too, and we can get a big discussion going on about it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? I want to hear your thoughts on Blade Runner. If you like it or hate it, love it or dislike it,
and even throw us some ideas for some movies that you may have watched in the past or like that you think nobody knows of that you may want to get featured too. And we'll even take a look at it and review it.
Yeah, we definitely will. Well, that's it for this podcast. Tune in next month on ELS Presents Films of Classic, brought to you by Everett Lee Show.
Next month is October, which means Halloween. We plan on getting a movie here that's going to scare the panties right off you.
Yes.
Maybe make you duty a little bit.